Welcome grade 9s. Let's enjoy solving a few quadratic equations. And to get into this, let's get just kind of one idea here. If we're multiplying two numbers, we got, say, a times b, and the product is 0. What must one of those numbers definitely equal? Well, one of them must be 0, right? Because if that's 0, then we got 0 times b. Well, 0 times b is definitely 0. Or the other one could be 0. So we got that or that, because no matter what a is, a times 0 is 0. So there are two options. So this is a key concept that we're using to solve quadratic equations, which are different to linear equations. So I don't know, this is just an open question. Have you come across that term quadratic? And if so, what does it mean? If not, then, all good. But have you come across it? Okay, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I'll see when I read through your solutions. And quadratic means that we've got somewhere like an x squared. Now it could be 3x squared, it could be minus 3x squared. The one is somewhere there's an x squared in our equation. So to solve these, our main strategy, if we want one kind of golden strategy that's going to guide us here, our strategy is that we're going to have rearranged so everything's on the left-hand side, some x squared and whatever else there is, and we're going to have equals 0 on the other side. So that's our strategy. So we've got quite a few examples. Let's take ourselves through our examples and see where it gets us. Okay, so let's go. Worked examples. Now we've got x squared equals 20 minus x. So our strategy, we said, was let's rearrange so that we've got everything on one side equals 0. So let's subtract 20 and let's add x to both sides. Remember what you do on one side. I don't need to ask that, right? You know that you need to do it on the other. No, but who said that they had that slightly boomy voice? No, you know who you are. So let's rearrange our equations we got. Now I'm just going to, at the same time, I'm going to write it in this order. And remember, we're kind of looking for that efficiency as we go along. So we'll go slowly into these, but we're building our efficiency. So I already know that it's nice to have it in that format, because what we're going to do now is we're going to factorize it. And the reason we factorize it is that now we're multiplying two things. So either that thing must be 0, or alternatively, the other thing here must be 0. Because, we got something times something. This was like, in our first one, this was like a and b. So a times b is 0. So either that first bracket is 0 or the second one. So that's kind of our strategy. And let's see how that works. So hopefully you can factorize this. I'm going to put the x and the x. Please tell me you can factorize that. And if you can't, then go back to your notes and practice factorizing, and then write down how you are so confident and happy to factorize that. Okay, so we got minus 20. So I think I'm going to go plus 5 minus 4, because 5 times minus 4 is minus 20. 5x minus 4x is x, and x times x is x squared. Yes, I'm going through that quickly because this is not, you can practice your factorization. So either that's 0. So our one solution is x plus 5 equals 0. And our second solution is that second bracket, x minus 4 equals 0. So we've got two possible solutions now. And let's solve each of these. So if x plus 5 equals 0, what must x equal? Well, negative 5. And our second solution, if x minus 4 equals 0, what should x be? Well, x should be 4. Now, I'll leave it to you to actually sub those back into the equation. So check, is minus 5 squared equal to 20 minus 5? Are those equal? I'll leave you to check that, and I'll leave you to check the other solution. Is 4 squared equal to 20 minus 4? So, yeah, shout when you've checked those out. Okay, so you check them out. Hopefully they came out true. Otherwise, we made a little bit of a mistake somewhere. But I think they work. Okay, so as I said, we kind of got our strategy. We spent our time, spent a good 5 minutes kind of getting into the groove of it. So let's run through these, and I'm going to run through these a little bit quicker so that you can just see them. We can get on my momentum. So already we've got equals 0. So all we need to do is factorize the left-hand side. Left-hand side looks like a trinomial, doesn't it? We've got x and x. What times what gives us 12, such that when you kind of put them in, you also get this minus 8x. Well, I think 12, I'm thinking 6 and 2. Let's check. Minus 6 minus 2 doesn't work. X times x is x squared. X times minus 2 is minus 2x. Minus 6 times x is minus x. Minus 6 times minus 2 is minus 12. Cool. Sounds good. Sounds like we got it. Sounds like I could become a racing horse commentator person, right? No. Okay, well, you try things. So our two solutions, x minus 6 equals 0, because either this whole thing is 0, because then 0 times something is 0. And our second option is, or this thing here, or x minus 2 is 0, right? Because one of those must be true. So we have a lovely word for that. Let's put or in between. So x equals something, or x equals something else. What are those two solutions? Well, this case we got 6 or x equals 2. You can sub them back in to check if you want. Next one. Okay, next one. 2x plus 1, 3x minus 2 equals that. I'm going to kind of give a hint over here, and I'm going to do this and this already. And I'm going to ask you, what are our two solutions? Okay, well, either this first bracket, it's already in this nice form, like a times b equals 0. So either the first part, 2x plus 1 equals 0, or the second bracket, 3x minus 2 equals 0. Okay, so it wasn't really too much we had to do. We didn't have to factorize. So 2x equals minus 1, x equals minus 1 over 2, or 3x equals 2, x equals 2 over 3. Two solutions, done. Next one. X squared minus 5x equals 0. Okay, so we just need to factorize the left-hand side. What's the first thing you do when you factorize? You look for a common factor, and I see a common factor here. I'm going to find a pinky common factor of x. So x goes into both of those. X times to get that, minus 5. So pause, just check our thing. I'm just going to check, is x times x squared? Yeah, it is. And our next one, I'm feeling green. X times minus 5 is minus 5x. Cool. So our factorization was good. So the next question is, we've got two options. Again, let me highlight them. Let's get rid of these things here and say, well, we've got our two options, and I'm again giving you kind of the hint. We've got x equals something, or our second one, or x minus 5 equals 0. So I'm going to solve the second part for you, x equals 5. What's our first solution here? Well, x could be 0, because look, 0 times something, 0. Okay, sometimes when we miss, I'm interested to see how everyone's done there. Okay, solve for x. X squared equals 25. What are your two solutions, and how did you solve this? And the reason I ask how did you solve this, because there are going to be two different ways to solve this, and both are definitely legitimate. I said two that I can think of. There are probably more, but let's see how you solve it. So question, what are the two values of x, and how did you solve this equation? Okay, well, I'm going to draw a line in the set. Well, not really. I'm going to draw a line on the page here. And I'm going to go for the method we've just been doing. Our method we've been doing said that what we want to do is, so we've got x squared equals 25. We want to rearrange, so we've got kind of everything on one side equals 0. We're going to factorize. That to me looks like a difference of two squares. X plus 5, x minus 5. So therefore, our two options here, either that thing there is 0, in which case x is negative 5, or our second solution was, or, where was our or, how many times do you think? No. Or x minus 5 equals 0. Let me rewrite that before you rude about my handwriting. I'm still trying. Okay. Moment had. So x equals 5, right? Or x equals 5. Okay, so x equals 5. There we go. So there are two solutions. That could work. Another way that you might have solved this, and maybe there's a third way that you might have done differently. You might have just gone, what when you square it gives you 25? Well, I know that the one thing that when I square it is x could be 5, right? Because 5 squared is 25. I don't have to do all of this jazz here. But then you also remember, but wait a second, what else when you square it? well, x could have been negative 5 because negative 5 squared gives you 25. And so you got your two solutions. It makes sense, doesn't it? Like, why did you do all that stuff on the other side? Yeah. So, either method really doesn't matter. This one on the left kind of is nice. It fits into how we've been doing all our things. The one on the right, great stuff. Just remember that there are two solutions. Okay, let's go for this one. 4x squared minus 9 equals 0. Go for it. Solve and talk very, very briefly about what your strategy is. Okay, so again, I feel like there are kind of two strategies. But for this one, I think it's probably easier to go, you know what, let's just do our strategy we've been doing. It's already everything on one side, so I'm just rewriting that. So I got it nice and colorful. And then we factorize. Hey, first thing you do when you factorize, no common factors. Then we look for maybe difference of two squares or trinomials. This looks like a difference of two squares. So I go bracket, 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 bracket equals 0. I know how to do this one. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 3 times 3, that gives us 9. I always go plus minus. Of course, it doesn't matter. You could have gone minus plus. And then you get your two solutions, right? Either that thing's 0. 2x plus 3 equals 0. Which case 2x equals minus 3. X equals minus 3 over 2. Or light blue, right? 2x minus 3 equals 0, 2x equals 3, x equals 3 over 2. Pause if you need it. Okay, so there are two solutions. And yeah, it kind of worked out. A positive and a negative of the same thing. Yeah, with that version, yeah, that works. Okay, as I said, the other solution in this case, if you had done it like the other one, maybe you went, 4x squared equals 9. Okay, well, you see, this feels a bit more complicated now, because if you wanted to do that square rooty thing, first of all, you'd have to have just x squared on the one side. Not too bad. Maybe you divided both sides by a wonky 4. A wonky 4. A 4, okay, divided by 4. So x squared. So on the right-hand side, you had 9 over 4. So therefore, you had your two solutions. Let's do them in yellow. And as I said, this is legitimate. You're going like, well, either it's the negative square root or it is the positive square root. So x could have been 3 over 2 because you kind of went square root, and you look at the negative and the positive option. Okay, so maybe we'll leave it like that. So yeah, legitimate way on the right, but the left kind of, now it feels like doing that method feels a bit easier, I think, although it takes more steps. Either way. Okay, and let's onwards, upwards. X squared plus 9 equals 6x. Maybe just quickly describe what's the first step you're going to take here. Well, first step definitely is going to be x squared. We want to subtract 6x from each side so that we've got equals 0. No question there. Now, I feel like let's just write it like that already. So I'm just going to put some working here. You may have written x squared plus 9 minus 6x equals 0. And then in your next step gone, let's rearrange this. But why not just go straight there? So let's go. Factorize, bracket, 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 bracket. It looks like a trinomial. X, and maybe that x could be over there. X, and we've got, okay, well, how about this one? I've got you quite far into the equation. What are your two solutions for x? Okay, so you factorized and you went, 3 times 3 gives you 9. And it must be negative 3 and negative 3. So either this equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. Or, I'm just going along happily here, light blue, doo-doo. Or x minus 3 equals 0. What, x? Yeah. So actually, how many solutions do we have? And that's a more interesting question than you might think, because you might have gone, well, there's one solution, it's the same. Or do you have two solutions and the solution is repeated? Leave that as a pending thought. Okay. I think you need to do exercise 20. I don't know. I'm just like a little bit perceptive. So looks like exercise 20 is what you need to do. So.